Hey girl, welcome back to Listennn Honey. This is your host Kiana, and today we're going to be doing something new. I actually have a special guest with me, and we're going to be discussing the international student experience. I know, after episode 3, I mentioned that we would be discussing boundaries, expectations, and standards, and we're definitely going to talk about those things. But for now, we're going to make a slight pivot in content and talk about what international students are facing today in America. So, let's talk about it. Hi, everyone. Today we have a special guest on the podcast. I want everyone to welcome my friend, Mo.
Hi, y'all.
How you doing, Mo? How's
I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
So I want to open it up. Tell people about yourself. Who are you? Where you're from? What you're doing in Houston? Your life goals? Whatever you want to share.
Yeah. So hi again. Thank you, Kiana, for having me on the podcast. As you mentioned, my name is Morountodun. I go by Mo for a multitude of different reasons that I can explain later. I'm from Nigeria, and I'm currently finishing in graduate school with Kiana. We're doing our master's in human resources development, which is where we met.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I was in Minnesota for 5 years where I did my undergrad. And prior to Minnesota, I was in Costa Rica for 2 years where I completed my high school education.
Awesome. I think it's so fascinating that you got to experience so many different parts of the world so early too, starting off in high school. Living it big while we're young. I'm always here for it. So like Mo said, go ahead.
I was going to say I was definitely more adventurous when I was younger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like Mo said, we are both in the HRD grad school program, and that is why I brought her on. But I want to give you guys a little backstory of how we initially met, which was at orientation. I sat by Mo at orientation. We both were in our first orientation just for the overall grad school program, and then we had a small breakout session where we had to go to the College of Technology to get more about our programs and other majors and meet people that we would probably be in class with. So when I started grad school, I was so nervous. I was so shy. I didn't know anybody in the program at all. And I just remember sitting by Mo and asking her if she was from the UK, basically. I'll let Mo give her side of the story.
Right. So, interesting fact, like I came into grad school and I was like, I knew that it was going to be, from like experiences that I've, spoken to people about, like I know that making friends in grad school is not an easy thing because a lot of people have their independent lives and whatever. Mm-hmm. So I was kind of like, well, if I don't make no friends, that's okay. I'm good. I'll be fine. I'll be, whatever. I'll do my own thing. But to, we have a little HRD breakout session. And I just was like, okay, I'm just gonna sit here. So I sat there, and Kiana was on my left, right? No, you on my right, and then another friend, Ayana, was on my right.
Hey, Ayana, if you're watching or listening,
or listening, right? She was on my left, and I remember I was quiet. I was like, I'm not gonna introduce myself first. And you were like, hi, I'm Kiana. I was like, hi, I'm Mo. And then we started talking about something that they had told us to talk about. Mm-hmm. And then halfway through the conversation, you're like, are you from the UK? And I'm like, no, I'm not from the UK. I'm from Nigeria. She's like, oh, I'm sorry. You're like, oh, I'm sorry.
Total me move, really.
Yeah, very you. Very, very you.
Yes, but you can't leave out the part that you said that you've gotten this before. Other people from the UK.
This is true. I was slightly amused when you said it, but in the back of my head, I was like, dang, how often am I going to keep getting this? Because like I've had a bunch of people like say that to me multiple times in the past year, and I was just like, oh, man, I can't seem to get away from the UK accent, even though I sound nothing like a British person. Like if you hear me, I have like a typical, like I guess I have like Nigerian accent, the Yoruba accent, whatever you want to call it. So I was like, okay, well, here's just another part in my life. I'm just gonna keep rolling with it.
Right. Yeah. So I called Mo to the podcast today, and thank you again for joining. I'm so happy to have my first guest ever.
Yeah. Oh, actually, yes.
My very first guest to talk about some news that came out on Monday. So on Monday, the U.S. government came out with a statement saying for international students who are here in the US, either undergrad or grad school on a student visa, if their program transitions all online, they will have to leave the country and finish their coursework at home for no reason. We really don't know why they did it. It just came out on Monday. And I found out through Mo. Mo posted about it on her Instagram story, and I immediately messaged her like, oh no, like this isn't real, like what is happening? And 3 seconds later I call her because I was like, I need to know what this is about and if it's real or not. And we kind of talked about it. But Mo, I'll let you share what you can about how you found out about the news.
Right. I think for like the first thing I want to say is that the reason why I think there's this very strategic reason as to why that happened, right, or why the guidelines were passed. And the reason is because the U.S. president is trying to get the country open, right, and unfortunately we're pawns in the game, right? International students are pawns in the game. So going back to how I found out about it, I was hoping to plan a surprise for someone who shall not be named, and I was going to go on Instagram and find their picture so I could, do the surprise. And I'm going to Instagram. I saw like a bunch of my friends had posted on their stories. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna quickly check. Like it was kind of like an automatic thing because that's what I do anyways when I go on Instagram. Like my first instinct is to hit the stories. So I hit the story, and then the first thing I saw was like ISIS. Basically, it was just like ISIS saying that all international students are going to be deported unless they transfer to school that is offering online program, offering face-to-face programs rather.
Right.
I was like, no. And I immediately texted the message that friend. I was like, is this for real? She's like, sis, it's real, right? It's real. And I was like, this is not happening. And so I went through some panic, a little bit of panic. And then eventually, like I think maybe 2-3 hours later, I was just like, I'm not doing this. I can't put myself through this mental stress. Like, I mean, Texas, COVID is rising. There's a protest going on nationwide. Like, there's just so many events. It was really numbing, and I just had to like shut down my emotions and self-defense and just be like, I'm just gonna take this one day at a time. I'm just not gonna try and think about this too much. And plus, we're starting classes, so my classes the next day. So I just had to start out, just put in my energy on one thing and focus on one thing.
Right. I forgot to mention that. A lot of people might be on their summer breaks, but me and Mo, we're back in school now.
We're back in school.
Starting this Tuesday.
Yes, we started this Tuesday.
And we actually are going Tuesday and Thursday. Because the information is getting taught at a faster pace so we can get it done before the fall. So on top of the pandemic, on top of the police brutality, on top of work, because we both have jobs, we both work, and now we're going to school, we get this news of, hey, in August, you might have to leave.
Potentially face deportation, yes.
Exactly. So what do you wish was different about your international student experience?
I think there are a couple of things that I wish were different. I think one of them would be awareness of the geopolitics of the world, right? I feel like a lot of Americans are not necessarily aware of politics of the world. They're not, like, a lot of the news that plays on US media, a lot of the images we see in Hollywood, right? A lot of the music is very US centric, and it perpetuates American exceptionalism, right? And so everybody just focuses on the US, and it's really hard to see the US from a different perspective if you're in the US and you're from American and you've grown up in the system where you're always focused on US issues and whatever. And so it's been really hard to deal with that because I grew up in Nigeria, and I listened to the local news and shout out to NT and AIT and all of these news outlets, but I also listened to the BBC and CNN and Al Jazeera. So I was very, very informed of the politics of the world. And I feel like a lot of Americans are not informed. And that leads me to my second point, which is that I wish the schools that brought us here, where it's not enough. It's kind of like, what we talk about in HR. It's not enough to hire Black people. It's not enough to hire people of color. You also have to create structures within the organization that they can succeed in. And I feel like that is exactly what I'm trying to say when it comes to the education system, at least at the college level in the United States. It's not enough that you bring all of these international students from different countries to the US to add to the diversity and the global perspective and be used as marketing, tools, right? And used as recruiting tools in the brochures, on the pamphlets, on the websites. Like, it's not enough to do that. You also have to create structures within the schools that they can succeed in, right? And I know, like, when I was an undergrad, I came into school like a week before the rest of all the international students had like a week. There was an orientation designated just for international students. And during that orientation, they taught us all about the Midwest culture. You know, if someone says, "How you doing?" it doesn't mean they actually want to know how you're doing. You know,
Really?
they taught us all of this, you know, things that were common in the common practices, basically how to assimilate into the US, which I think is probably sometimes necessary because you need to understand like the new environment that you're working in. But what I wish was done, I wish like the domestic students had something like that. Like, you're going to interact with people from these countries. This is what is acceptable. This is what is not acceptable. Right. And
Right.
so we are prepared to interact with domestic students, but domestic students are not prepared to interact with us. And so there is a lot of tension and there's a lot of ignorant comments being made and mentioned, and people saying that Africa is a country, or believing that because you're Black and you're from Africa, you're poor and you're uneducated. I think the one that pisses me off the most is that you're not intelligent. Like, right? So you have all of these misconceptions that absolutely make no sense, and that ties into the idea of what is being played out in the media, what is being played out on the news, right? So that's what I wish more people knew.
And another big reason why I invited Mo to join us today is because a lot of people might not even know this is happening to international students unless you're friends with international students and you know about their experiences and about the situations that they face day in and day out with being in a country where they might not have their parents with them. They might not have other family members here, and they literally pack up everything and come to America to achieve their goals, get their education, and provide for their families back home. For some people, it might not be for everybody, because I don't want to speak for all international students. But just having that experience and then coming to learn this news, there's a lot of people who are in college that might not know this is happening, might not know that the person that sat next to them last semester is an international student and is being faced with possibly being deported. But I wanted to kind of bring you on to share that experience, and we can talk more about it. But first, I wanted to talk about, and I know it's hard to give encouragement when you're going through a storm. It's good to give encouragement when you're out of a storm and, you know, everything's clear as day. So I understand I'm going to preference this question with that. But what kind of encouragement could you give to your fellow international students that are facing this reality right now?
Right. So can I actually have like a point to make before like going to the encouragement piece? Can I talk about that first? Absolutely. So I think I want to expand more on the international student experience, because you like when you just talked, what you just said reminded me of a couple of things. Like, I want to talk about how difficult it is to legally come here. Like, a lot of people in the US talk about, like, if only people came here legally, like, then, you know, whatever, our problems will be fixed. But as someone who doesn't have a blue passport or a red passport, which are passports that are deemed like first world, right? And according to the world, I'm with the world.
Break it down for the people. Blue passport,
right?
United States.
Blue passport and red passports are like
UK?
the big. It's not just UK. It's a bunch of other countries in Europe as well that have like red passports, right? Gotcha. Basically, there's something. Okay, I guess what I'm trying to say is that there's something called passport privilege.
Gotcha.
A lot of Western people have. So, like, for instance, as someone who holds an American passport, you can probably go to, like, don't quote me on this, I'm paraphrasing to give an example, but you can probably visit 130 countries without a visa. Now, as someone who has a green passport and is from Nigeria, I can only visit 55 countries.
Wow.
So that is what I'm trying to talk about in terms of passport privilege. And so in terms of coming here and getting an F1 visa, people don't know how much, first of all, how much money it costs to like pay that, you know, the fee that is required, but also they have to you have to bring out all of your bank statements and you have to bring out so much information, right, to get your passport, your visa renewed.
I have a question real quick, Mo. I'm going to preface this by saying I'm just now learning about visas and immigration through the role that I have with HR. But something I learned recently, for certain passports, you have to do an interview, right? Do you have to do an interview with a student passport as well?
That's another thing too, because I remember we were walking around U of H and I was like, oh, you can actually get your passport renewed on campus. Like, what? That's a thing,
Right.
And I was laughing because I just got my passport renewed in December. And I think you remember, I don't know if I told you about it, but I was kind of like really stressed, like trying to, I
Yes,
had to fly to New York to get
I
my
know.
passport.
You told me
And
about it.
and that was, and before I flew to New York, I applied for my passport in July, and so it took all of that time to get an interview date. Like it's just a lot of time for
Right.
my like passport is like it's very difficult to renew a passport in Nigeria. That's number one, right? And
Mhm.
then to get a visa with a Nigerian passport is hard, it's difficult, right? So you have to fill out all of these forms, submit all of the information. Like you have to give them your email addresses, your Facebook name, your Instagram name, like all of your social media pages, a bank
Really?
account. You have to submit all of this paperwork, right? And then you go for an interview. And I mean, people are fasting and praying in Nigeria to go for an interview because they're like, we don't know why they're going to deny us. They're ready for anything that comes in. And imagine the last time I went for a face-to-face interview was probably in 2014, right? And I remember sitting there. It was me alone because my parents could not come in. It was
Right.
just me, right? They were like,
Because by
only the
then
person.
you're over 18, right?
I think I just turned 18, but it wasn't even about that.
Okay.
It's more of like the person who's applying for a visa only allowed to enter the embassy,
Okay.
right? So you can't have like friends or whatever. It's strictly only the people who apply, like they have submitted their application.
Gotcha.
And I remember I was sitting down there. I was 18. I was so nervous, and it's like a big room. It's like a room. It's not a big room. It's a room, and you can sort of hear everything that's going on. So each interviewer has their own little cubicle, and you talk to them using a microphone. Right? There's a screen in the there's a screen
Wow.
divided between like the American and the Nigerian, and you're
Mhm.
talking to them like, and everybody can hear what's going on. And I remember sitting down and was like, the people before me denied, 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 denied.
Wow.
And there's little old me who is 18, and I'm nervous, right? I'm nervous because like it's scary. And I got in there, and the guy was like, he was a little bit like, "What are you doing?" Blah blah blah. And then I think what helped me was probably the fact that I'd gone to school in Costa Rica. I'd come back, and so he was like, "Oh, so you want to speak in Costa Rica?" I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Here's my transcript," and
Right.
I provided him my transcript. He's like, "Oh wow, you're moving to Minnesota," and I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Well, Minnesota's going to be a lot more difficult. It's a lot more colder," and I was like, "Yeah, I
Right.
know." He's like, "Okay, well, come back for your." And that was sort of how I got my visa, and that was it, right? But it was a long process, and I remember my parents were like waiting for me, praying. They're
Yeah.
like, "I hope she gets it because if I don't get it, that's another 6 months." Like, it's just a lot, and that's one thing. And then so you got in the visa. That does not mean that when you land in the US and you go through border and customs protection, that does not mean they can't say you're not allowed to enter the country. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, because I know
that's
one
still an
time I traveled, I forget what country I was coming back from, but you can go to different countries or leave your country and something happens in your country, and then all of a sudden while you're on the plane, it could be like, oh, from this country, we're not allowing anybody else in. It could
right
be
or
random things like that too.
right, or it could just be like the person in the who's at the officer at the border and customs does not believe that you're actually doing what you say you're doing. So they're like, actually, you're not going to enter, so we're going to put you back on the next thing. That's Nigeria. So I was really nervous. So there's all of that, stuff like in terms of immigration and trying to get the proper paperwork to come in. And then when you get here, it's each semester you're taking classes, and then you're only allowed to work a certain number of hours per week. You're earning minimum wage, right? You have to pay taxes. Um, and then if you have an internship, you have to tell the government that you have an internship. And you can only do an internship in the field that you're majoring in. Like, so it's very, very, very specific and very limited. And so each year, international students are constantly navigating this space, right? It's like a constant uncertainty. Constantly, you're like, I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. I don't know what's going to happen next semester. And that's kind of where I came up with the whole thing because I used to constantly worry about what I was going to do next. And then my senior year, my spring semester, my senior year, I just was like, I can't do this anymore. And I was just like, I'm only going to try and that was kind of where the whole philosophy for me began was I'm only going to try and control what I can. I think of what I want to do in the next 6 months, and I'm not going to
Right.
try and plan out my life. And so that's where that came from. So that's just a little bit of an insight into like what international students face, right? Some of the
Right.
challenges that we face. And then obviously there's still the whole challenge of like being 6 hours, the time difference being 6 or 7 hours from your family. Like sometimes it's hard to talk to my parents because I'm awake and they're asleep, and they're asleep and I'm awake. And obviously there's the whole thing too with packing. You can only, like when you're moving countries, you can only pack 2 suitcases, two hand
Right.
luggages, and two big suitcases and one hand luggage. And so you have to squeeze your life into 2 bags, which is like you're reduced. It's almost very sad because you have to essentially reduce the incentive of your person into just 2 suitcases. Right.
Right.
And so these are just some of the things that international students go through. But a lot of people are not aware unless you are friends with an international student. You don't really understand how much effort that they go through to be here. And I mean, we're considered non-resident aliens. Like the fact that they use the word
Right.
aliens to describe us is it's saying a lot.
Yeah. And I
Yeah.
like how you thank you for sharing that story. I think it gave me so much background, and I'm sure a lot of people who aren't international students didn't even know the process of getting a student visa. Because I know before this, I actually didn't know all the details, but I really like how you said you planned out for the next 6 months and you can control what you can control in that time. So would you say that's the kind of encouragement you would give international students at this time, or what other words of encouragement can you leave with them?
Well, I think it's hard to encourage people, right? Because each international student is different, right? So I found that for me, planning 6 months of my life works for me, but I don't know if that works for someone else, right? So I think the only, I guess, advice or encouragement that I could give to an international student is do what's best for you. You know the whole facts of your story, and do what's best for you. That's really all I can say, because I know people who have been in very similar situations as me, and they've made completely different choices that have worked out for them as well. So
Yeah, I like that. You got to do what's best for you, and what you do, there's someone who says it, what you do for you, that's your business. It's nobody else's
right,
business but your own.
right,
that's
right,
that's
right.
you do you.
Yeah.
So for people who aren't international that are hearing this podcast or have friends and they want to be able to advocate for their friends to not have to get deported, what are some next steps or different petitions people could look up to sign?
Yeah. So I don't know the name specifically, but I can probably send them to you after this conversation is done, or you can link them in the podcast episode. But there are 2 podcasts currently going. I mean, 2 petitions rather going around. There's one from on change.org, and there's one from We the People. And then I've
Okay.
also seen on Instagram that people have been telling U.S. citizens to call their different representatives and advocate on behalf of international students, because we technically do not have rights to like call a US senator and be like, I need to tell the government to do this, this, and that. So sign those forms, spread the word that this is happening, and also if you can call your representatives to let them know what's going on.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Mo. I'm so glad you came and that we were able to get this all recorded. And I just really appreciate your openness to talk about the situation, and because you're still in it, it's not like
Right.
it's been solved. It's not like it's
It's
not
not
even
over
been a
yet.
whole week. It hasn't even been a whole
Oh,
week since we
it's been
got the
5 days.
yeah.
Yes.
So first off, thank you so much for just being open to have the conversation and inform other people about your experience and other international students' experience right now, and also before even the process of getting to the US. So I think that is
Right.
so important and so valuable. And I want to end it with this by saying, no matter what happens, girl, I'm always here for you.
Thanks,
Point blank,
Kiana.
period.
I appreciate that. I do want to say that you've been very helpful. And I remember, I don't know how this happened, but before this whole COVID pandemic happened, and we had classes and twice a week, I would say, or whatever, 2 times a week, 3 times a week. And in a lot of the classes I had with you, I'd walk to class in the afternoon, and then you would give me a ride back to my dorm at night, which is like really, really nice, because I definitely did not feel safe in Houston. Is a big city, like, and I didn't feel safe like walking back to campus sometimes. And so he offered to give me a ride even without asking. I think some people, I've been in experiences where I've always had to ask constantly, like, hey, can I do this? Hey, can I do this? But you're like, oh, let's go, let's get in the car. And those have been really fun times, because then we can debrief about the class, and we can,
Right.
I introduce you to some new music.
Yes.
Some of which you like, some of which you don't.
Some that I still listen to like on a
I
daily
know.
basis. I'm gonna have to
Uh-huh.
share it with everybody else because I will personally say those songs that you sent me recently have
Mm,
like helped me through this whole quarantine time because it's a vibe. Like I literally
yeah,
feel like I've been transported to a whole new atmosphere, and I love the power of music, how it can do that, you know?
yeah,
Like it could change your mood, it could help you express yourself without even having the words to say.
yeah,
So I'll definitely have to share it with you guys
yeah.
because it's some fire music. And anytime, honestly, I said it earlier, but the program would not be the same without you. Like I don't know who my person would be if Mo wasn't there. Like literally, we have so many
Uh,
debriefs and so many
literally, so many
experiences.
different.
Yeah, so many different experience of Mo tolerating my foolishness that I put upon myself.
Let me tell you, Kiana makes life interesting because I live my life to her sometimes. I'm like, I can't do that, but okay, you go ahead.
Exactly, exactly. But that's what friendship is all about.
Yeah.
So, with that, we're going to wrap up episode 4 of the podcast, and you'll probably be hearing more stories with me and Mo soon. Have some more international topics to discuss.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. Listen, honey, that is all for episode 4. I hope y'all learned something new today and that you spread the word on what's happening with international students. When it comes to learning about others' experiences and cultures, it could be a lot to learn. If you know someone that is an international student or was an international student, please make sure you send them this episode. I recently posted on my Instagram at Listennn Honey _podcast that we are international now. So again, big shout out to my international listeners and honestly to everyone that has been supporting and encouraging me to keep this podcast going. It truly means the world. For those of you that don't use Spotify or Anchor to listen to your podcast, make sure you check out our YouTube channel and hit that subscribe button. As always, ladies, keep rising, keep shining your light, and keep protecting your peace. Till next time.